Some things you might want to have handy. A lot of times when you'll call, I'll ask, and we're working on a particular stain, and some of you are used to these questions from me. I will say, well, do you happen to have? And I always don't, I never like the answer to be no. That's kind of, okay, well, do you have this? No. Well, do you have this? No. It gets frustrating sometimes. But these are some things that you might want to have handy, and we'll talk about what they're for and everything. But some rubbing alcohol, preferably 95% alcohol. If you can't afford a bottle of alcohol, you really need to get a real job. It happens to be 30 volume, and it'll say, usually it'll say developer or something like that. 30 volume is not 30%, it's volume. 40 volume is about 12%. Your household peroxide is about 3%. So it's about 4 times as strong. I'll explain what it's for later. Non-sudsing ammonia, that might come in handy. Acetone or non-oily fingernail polish remover might come in handy someday. Definitely solvent-resistant rubber gloves. Not these kind. This kind works great with Stain Magic and so forth, but these are dissolved by solvents. Might want to have a hair blower. Now, if your wife's hair blower isn't working too well, just cob it from her. Lots and lots of white, clean towels. Vacuum cleaner or pile lifter sometimes would be handy. Plastic pieces. I'll explain later what that's for too. If you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, where they have the sheets of plexiglass, get the very thin, they'll cut it for you. What it's for is for furniture stains, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And a steam iron. One of the differences is the steam holes. We want lots and lots of steam holes. So it's better to get one like that that has plenty of steam holes. I just turned it on because we'll be needing it later. Or some people use a steamer. We'll talk about this. I can get out any stain. Duckbill shears we'll talk about in a little bit. A cookie cutter will show you how you do that. Usually I just mention it in a regular school, but there's a trick to all of that. We'll talk about what those are for. This thing right here, it comes with 3 bulbs, the activator light, energizer light, chemical activation light, whatever you want to call it, plus a black light for urine stains, plus a regular bulb for inspection. A water claw, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Spotting extractor comes in really handy sometimes. You know, you hate to, you just had a recall, a redo. You know, a spot came back. It's no fun connecting up the van once again and pulling in all the hoses and everything. It's a lot easier to pull in a little portable thing. A spotting guide, which comes with a spotting kit. That's very, very handy. It's a very good spotting guide. Spotting kit. Yes, you could throw everything into a 5-gallon bucket. Just doesn't look very professional. So spotting kit, a photo ID badge. We'll talk about that because these are the things that the customer sees. Your badges, shoe booties. Be sure that the floor tool looks nice, it's clean. You clean that whenever you go to the next home. And there's a reason why we sell the aerosol cans of paint, is so that it doesn't look so horrible. Perky for resale if you want. All-purpose spotter, Pro-Solv gel, power gel. That's for solvent, getting rid of some solvent type, oily type materials. Pro-Solv liquid, we're going to talk about that. It's for adhesives and tar. Saf-T-Solv, if most of you are familiar with that. Red relief, Stain Magic. Defoamer, ARA. I'm going through just a bunch of products, then we'll talk about it. Whiz Groom, Brownout, Carpet Shark, Crevice Tool, Upholstery Tool, Pro-Zyme, Natural Fiber Cleaner, Red Relief. These are for Red Relief and Stain Magic for wool. Our dye kit, our color repair kit, rust remover. Some general guidelines about removing spots and stains. Unless it's soot or other insoluble powder, we always clean first. Now, because Well, for example, taking care of Kool-Aid. What is in Kool-Aid? Dye plus water plus sugar. We got to get rid of that sugar. We're not going to get rid of the dye by cleaning. We got to get rid of the sugar. Don't do anything that voids the warranty. Blot, don't rub. It's very tempting to go like this. Problem is, the reason you never do that is you have a cut pile carpet. It's twisted, right? Forms a nice tip. If you start rubbing, what do you do to that nice definition to the tip? You fuzz it up. And if you do make the mistake that one of our customers did many years ago, he said, called me and said he was confused because he said, I told this customer that spot would not be a problem. She would never see it again. The minute he said that, I thought, oh, that's the dumbest thing you could possibly ever say. You always under-promise and over-deliver. And he said, the spot is gone. But she called me and said she can still see it. And she said, you can't come out to see it until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Because at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, if you get down on your hands and knees, where the light is coming in, you can see where the spot was because you rubbed it too much, and now I can still see where it was. So don't rub, you blot. Well, you also work from the edge toward the center to keep it from spreading. Clean, white, absorbent towels. Not of course, a cleaning technician is going to be wearing a lab coat anyhow, but not a rag. What does the customer say if you're starting to bring some spotting with a towel like this? Oh, I've seen a whole lot worse than this. This is mild compared to what I've pulled out of vans before, where hard, crusty, sticky stuff is on it, and they're planning on using it for spotting in somebody's home. Keep spotting bottles off the surface. In other words, if you're going to mix up something on the customer's carpet, or worse yet, on their nice marble floor, or worse yet, on the kitchen countertop, how do you suppose you get rid of bleached out spots on a kitchen countertop? Clean the entire cushion, not just a spot. If you're doing upholstery, get everything dry as fast as possible. If you're using solvents such as Saf-T-Solv, be sure to wear solvent-resistant rubber gloves. Don't breathe these solvents. All solvents are bad for you, even alcohol. Be patient, under-promise, over-deliver. Avoid these two words. In a housewife's mind, which is 90% of your customers, what's a chemical? Yeah, well, chemical is a poison. An acid is a poison that kills you faster. She's saying that while she's drinking her Coke, which contains, one of the nice things about being a chemist is I know what these big words are. But aspartame, oh, that must be innocuous, mustn't it? How about phosphoric acid? If you look at the material safety data sheet on phosphoric acid, if it's straight, it'll kill you if you drink it. It'll burn your skin terribly. And in my case, when I was at college one time, all of a sudden the tip of my nose really burning. I dashed off to the restroom. This is pre-OSHA, so you didn't have showers and everything in the lab. Splashed water in my face and took a look in the mirror, and there was this black hole right here. That was from one single drop of phosphoric acid, and I'm drinking it. It's just a matter of concentration. So you avoid those words. This is the day and age of organic, natural, etc. There we are. Dan sometimes shows this where there was a stain. It had gotten clear. If it gets clear into the batting material, we want to put a towel underneath there. I think most of you here have Bane systems, but it doesn't really matter. If you're cleaning and you're coming along an area, don't worry, he's fine. Not going to trip on him. And you're cleaning along here, and you're used to a certain sound coming through the slot of the floor machine, aren't you? And it suddenly becomes muffled. Why would it become muffled and then you come past that area and it's normal again? Foam. You need to stop, because that means there's nothing visible there, but it means that she's used a spotter there. Well, she got it off the fuzzy stuff. What might happen? She's going to call you and say, Mike, I don't know how you managed to do this. We spilled some coffee there, and we got it all off with our Magic Wonder spotter, and you made it come back twice as big. How'd you do that? Well, a problem explained up front is called education. The problem explained after the fact is called an excuse. You gave an excuse. If you see that, you need to either stop immediately and use a water claw or drop a foil tab. There's one little hint. Keep a bunch of foil tabs in your pocket. If you see a problem and you can't deal with it right away because it's not visible, drop a foil tab there so you can come back to it and take care of it later. But that's one of the things to watch out for. And if you're going to be treating that, that's why we have crystal defoamer. If you're trying to suck that out with a water claw, if it's something that she used, she might have used laundry detergent there. Who knows what she has used? If you call and you ask, have a problem where you're trying to take care of a spot, and I've talked to most of you, and some of the questions I might ask is, well, what's already been done? That's a critical piece of information to know, because that very often determines the outcome. And if she tells you, well, I've got this magic spotter and that didn't work, and I tried some dishwash detergent and then I got some laundry detergent, well, you've got a ton of foam in there. And the best way to deal with that, and we're going to talk about what we can do about a laundry detergent spill in a little bit, is we've got a foam problem, so we'll sprinkle some crystal defoamer in there, work it in, then we can use our water claw, and then to avoid wicking, we can apply stain blotter. Stain blotter is a very light powder. Some of you I know are familiar with it too. Mrs. Smith, a lot of people use, there it is. A lot of people, when they have pets, and pets always have accidents, do you happen to use Carpet Fresh or Love My Carpet or anything like that? See the part of, I'm always after our being professionals. Part of being a professional is to be educating. Well, ma'am, these products work very well. However, they're a little bit like sawdust. They're not sawdust, but they're a little bit like sawdust. And if you take a handful of sawdust, when you're talking to a consumer, you relate to something that he or she might be familiar with. And you have a handful of it and you get some water on it, what does it do? It swells up and the pieces stick together. Well, this stuff does the same thing. So some of this ends up in the backing, and when I clean, I get probably 80% of it out, but there's always some left behind, and it locks in place. But as the carpet dries, it kind of works its way up, and you may see some white powder on the carpet tomorrow in those places where you've done that. It's not a problem. All you have to do is vacuum it up. How's that versus getting a phone call tomorrow, this white stuff everywhere? So this is one of the reasons you want to ask that question. And the other one is, what's already been used on this spot or stain? Don't just start working on it saying that's no problem or anything. What is she in it? If somebody spills something, do they ignore it and call you? They've already tried to remove it. So what has been used? Well, I opened up my wife's laundry cabinet. Well, there's a lot of stuff that can be used, right? So we need to know what's already been used. Talk briefly about fibers, not too much. The two most common fibers you're going to run into, unless you're doing rugs, are olefin and nylon. Olefin, low melting point, low softening point. Be careful when you drag furniture on olefin. If it's 100% olefin, polypropylene, 100% polypropylene would be one solid color. You can use chlorine bleach lightly, and you can then rinse it out. It's got the best stain resistance. It's common in Berber, as long as it's single color. Polyester, same thing. Solution dyed nylon, like this stuff, you can use diluted bleach as long as you rinse it out. Nylon loves dyed liquids. Do you see any dyed liquids over there? Well, how about Gatorade? How about Kool-Aid? How about Candle? How about Pepto-Bismol? How about cough medicine? It goes on and on and on. Nylon loves those. I don't want to go too far into the detail of why, but basically nylon has dye sites. And those dye sites are positively charged. You dye a carpet by reacting it with a negatively charged dye. And that's exactly what's in Kool-Aid and all those other things. So when you're trying to deal with that kind of stain, you're trying to remove something that's chemically reacted with the carpet. She may think it's just something that's been spilled on there and just sitting there. No, ma'am, it has chemically reacted. Here's part of education again. Ma'am, did you know that how they dye carpet? The carpet has dye sites on it, positive dye sites, and they react it with negatively charged dyes. That happens to be the very same kind of dye that's in Kool-Aid and most pop, etc. And so it reacts too. What we're trying to do is to remove a dye off of something that has been dyed. And so I will do my very best, but I have to be careful because may reach a point where I can't go any further because I may start pulling out some of the dye that the carpet was dyed with. Now, I may even know, I'm looking at it and thinking, I'll probably get all this out, but what am I doing? Well, I'm guarding myself, but I'm under-promising. I'm going, what is she expecting to see? She's expecting you have in your pocket a bottle of some magic elixir that you whip out and you go bang, and the stain disappears, smoke appears, and it's gone. And you don't want her to think that. You lower her expectations, you under-promise with the idea of over-delivering. Always under-promise and over-deliver. Everybody does exactly the opposite. Wool and silk, they're stayed by everything.